Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel, and I'm a manifestation and abundance mindset coach, particularly for women in the health and wellness industry and those who are looking to transition out of corporate or their typical 9 to 5 job and become their own boss. So, one of the biggest misconceptions around manifestation and the process of manifestation is around spending. Okay, it's around spending as if you are already wealthy. And I really want to talk to that point of like how to know when you are spending in a way that is in alignment with you, and how to know when you're spending in a way that is out of alignment and essentially not in alignment with yourself, but also not in alignment with the process of manifestation. So I hear this a lot from people that they spend money, they're kind of acting as if, right? Because a lot of this whole process of manifestation is acting as if, and I'm going to do a whole nother video next week around act as if, like how can we act as if we don't have an abundance of money in our bank account right now. But I want to talk first about this idea that many people overspend when they first hear about manifestation and the law of abundance, because one of the laws that governs manifestation is the law of attraction, right? Which means like attracts like. So oftentimes what happens is people like understand about this and they're like, cool, so if I go and spend money and act as though I'm really wealthy, then that money's just going to come back to me. The universe is just going to sort it out and I'm just going to be wealthy. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. That if it was just the law of attraction that was at play here, then whatever we think would literally just arrive in a split second, okay? However we were feeling in that moment would literally be represented with everything that's in front of us, right? If that was our reality, if that was the reality that we were living in this universe, the world would be kind of wild. So it's kind of a good thing that there are so many more things at play than just the law of attraction, which is why it's important that when we start to go through this process, we don't just whip out our credit card and start going fucking wild on Amazon or in the shops. Okay, and so here's the thing. We've got to get really clear on when we are spending from our kind of higher self, from like our intuitive self, from a place of real knowing, and when we are spending from essentially from our ego, from that lower self place. Okay, and there's many different ways that we can tell this. I mean, it depends like how connected you are personally to, say, your intuition, to your higher self, how driven you are by your ego, if you have got to a place in your life yet where you've actually been able to observe your ego and recognize the behaviors and the patterns that you display that are really ego driven. If not, then that's definitely an area to work on and expand into. So typically when we experience, and I'm just going to refer to spending, okay? I mean, we make loads of decisions every day from, potentially from our higher self or from our ego. So this kind of applies to that, but I'm really going to talk specifically about spending. So when we spend from a place of being in our higher self, like being really aligned with ourselves, it feels expansive. Okay, there's this sense of like, yeah, like, yes, it's a hell fucking yes. Okay, and when we spend from a place of ego, it's contractive. And when I say expansive and contractive, I mean we feel it in our body. If you are connected to your physical body, which a lot of people are not, but if you are connected to your physical body, if you're really able to sense and feel everything that kind of goes on, then you'll notice there's this expansive feeling when we spend from the higher self, and there's this contractive, like darker, ickier feeling when we spend from our ego. So here's the thing, like oftentimes ego spends. So let's say you go wild in a clothes shop somewhere, or you buy something that's like kind of uber expensive, you don't really need it. It feels good in the moment. Okay, it feels really like, woo, like overly exciting in the moment, but quite quickly afterwards, there'll be regret and there'll be a sense of emptiness, regret, lack, frustration, that kind of like fuck versus fuck yes. Okay, so start to get really clear on that. Start to notice, like, when you're spending, like, over the next few days, over the next week, like, start to notice when I spend, like, have I got that, like, expansive, like, fuck yes, like, I know that was a really good spend or a really good investment. And notice when it's like, eek, not sure I should have done that, that doesn't feel great. Because what happens in those moments is we're seeking short-term gratification actually for something that needs a much bigger dive into. So say if you are somebody that typically overspends, like say you've got a bit of an addiction to, say, shopping, or to gambling, anything where you don't feel in control when you're spending money. So it's really important that we feel in control when we're spending money. And when we're not in control when we're spending money, it comes from a sense of illusory lack. Okay, it comes from a sense that we are not enough, that we are not whole, that there is something fundamentally wrong with us. And by spending money in this way, we are trying to fill that sense of lacking. Okay, so what often then happens, let's say hypothetically you're feeling a bit like, I don't know, you're feeling a bit down on yourself, you're feeling as though you're not enough, there's not enough, you're feeling really distracted, you're feeling kind of empty, you're feeling like I need something to fill me up. This is often when people turn to food, turn to alcohol, turn to drugs, turn to smoking, we can turn to shopping, we can turn to excessive exercise. It's really when we're not feeling grounded, right? We're not feeling whole, we're not feeling truly in our body. So when that happens and your tendency is to spend money, it then becomes like a bit of a vicious cycle, because you'll spend money, it will feel instantly gratifying, but very quickly, right, what goes up must come down, you'll get this slump. And then the cycle will continue. It's like, oh, I don't feel great. Right, I'm going to go and spend more money. Boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to spend more money to try and fill it. And you can see how this habit can happen with anything that we turn to when we're not feeling great. Like I said, that could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be sex, it could be social media, it could be excessive exercise, it can be shopping, it can be food. We have this cycle of like, I need more, get it, instant gratification, boom, slump, I need more. Okay, and this is what happens. So this is what often I hear people wrapping up as like manifestation. Well, that means I can spend that money and the universe is just going to sort it out. It's like, no, it's fucking not. Okay, because that's not how it works. We have to get really fucking clear when we are spending from a place of ego, which is that's what that is. The ego is trying to defend itself. It's trying to keep you safe. It sounds strange because it doesn't sound to the conscious mind like it's trying to keep you safe, but that's what's happening. It's trying to distract you from really looking inside to get to the root of the problem. Okay, but when we spend from a place of higher self, it feels. Now, that's not to say that making really big spends are like necessarily bad. So one thing that often people get a bit confused about is going into debt. Okay, and going into debt is not fundamentally bad. Okay, having credit cards is not fundamentally bad. It depends how you use that ability to leverage finance. It depends how you use that ability to have credit cards. Again, if you're just racking up the clothes or racking up something else that you really don't need, that's instant gratification, then that's not great. But if you're using credit cards to invest in yourself, to leverage yourself, to buy a house, perhaps to buy a car, then that's okay, all right? It's not terrible to go into debt, again, when it's coming from a place of abundance. So it's so important that we look at what we're doing and what we're investing in from a place of abundance. If it comes from lack, that is what is going to get mirrored back to you. But if it's coming from a place of abundance, from a place of knowing, let's say hypothetically you invest in yourself, like you invest in programs or courses or coaches or education. You can probably hear my child screaming in the background because I can. then, that will come back to you, right? And here's the other thing, right, with investing in yourself. I know a lot of people who invest in programs and courses and don't fucking show up and do them. So notice if that is also a pattern of yours. Do you invest from a place of higher self and being like, wow, that's a really amazing program, that's a really amazing coach, that's a really amazing teacher, and then you don't show up. And then you create a story of like, well, yeah, that program wasn't that good, it wasn't that worthwhile, it didn't really get me to where I want to go. Well, nothing works if you don't do it, basically. So it's really important, just start to observe your spending patterns and habits. Start to observe like what percentage roughly of the money that you spend is kind of higher self spends, and how much, like what percentage comes from that ego, comes from that sense of like desperation, of not enoughness, of lack, and of scarcity. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear like how this has landed, if you can really sense that difference between higher self and ego spends. And I'm definitely going to record some more videos, particularly around getting deeper into how we know how to recognize our intuition versus our ego, intuition versus anxiety, but also really getting into like how else can we act as if there is not an abundance of physical money in our wallet or in our bank account. So I dive much, 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 much deeper into all these topics in my 6 weeks program that is coming up mid-October called Reclamation. So if this has really landed for you, and if you're really ready to start to take the power back of the way that you view money, the way that you spend money, the way that you attract money, how you think about wealth and abundance, then send me a message. I would love to hear from you. I would love to tell you a bit more about this program. I've got an early bird special on until the end of this month, so only about less than a week left. So if you're really, really keen, send me a message and we will have a conversation. All right, have a beautiful day, everybody.